Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Kale Miller of Pandora Astrology.
And I'm Julia Mikos, also of Pandora Astrology.
And today we wanted to show you our thoughts on pandemic year 2020, a retrospective. Now, this year we made a playlist in which we had all of the videos that we've made about the pandemic year. And it's been a really rough year. We knew that was going to happen because we knew that Saturn was going to conjunct Pluto, and we knew that in the fall. And we made this second video in the list all about how 2020 was going to feel really heavy, really serious. It was going to bring heavy pressure, and we're going to feel oppressed, essentially. All humanity was going to feel oppressed. And what we didn't know then was what it was going to look like. So, but we did make this video in October of 2019. We released it in November, and so we planted our flag in the idea that 2020 was going to be a really difficult year. Now, time went by, and then the pandemic started, and it really came up into our consciousness in March, most particularly. And by April, Julie and I came to realize that the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto that generated that feeling of oppression and circumstances and times where you feel like you're locked in and have no exit from a terrible situation, that feeling was manifesting as this pandemic. And the funny thing is that a pandemic doesn't necessarily yield that feeling. There have been times historically when we have had diseases escape laboratories and travel around the world and make a pandemic, but that it hasn't felt like this. Most notably, there was one in the middle 60s, which we don't even remember. So we proceeded to make this video, The Astrology of the Coronavirus Pandemic, in which we explained why the pandemic hot degree had put into place this atmosphere of fear and oppression. And when we thought that there would be flare-ups in the pandemic, and some of the language that we used were flare-ups, bad behavior, endangering behavior, and also confidence and overconfidence. We said that Jupiter will bring a sense of hope as it transits back and forth over the pandemic hot degree, and also as it meets up with Pluto, and that some of us would feel that we can grow from this, we can recover from this, we're going to be okay, and others of us might experience overconfidence and thus endangering behavior, and also the experience of Jupiter blowing things up bigger so that they can be seen. So we then proceeded to make more videos to explain the situation and help you cope with the situation. The spiritual lesson utilizes the serenity prayer to help you cope, and finding the pandemic hot degree in your chart helps you to see how it affects you. And I did an awful lot of placing the pandemic hot degree into clients' charts over the course of the year. And universally, I found that where it landed, that person reported, yeah, this is where I've been feeling the pressure of the pandemic. And where it hit planets in their chart from a stressful angle, they would be like, yeah, I've really been feeling that. And where it hit them from a harmonious angle, I would tell that person, you've been getting some perks actually from this too. And they go, yeah, I kind of have. So an awful lot of that has happened this year. And so I wanted to return to some of these diagrams that we have given you this year, and then show you something really special about it. So here we have the chart of the pandemic hot degree. It happened on January 12th. And as you can see, it's not just a conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, but it is a ridiculously hot degree because that day, Ceres was in Capricorn at 22 degrees, Mercury was in Capricorn at 22 degrees, and later on in the day, the sun would move into Capricorn 22 degrees. So it was crazy, this hot degree, and absolutely signaled very dramatic circumstances to come, especially when you consider that Jupiter is traveling back and forth in that zone during the course of 2020, triggering and re-triggering that pandemic hot degree. So we gave you this diagram as well. in which we showed you, and I'm hoping that you can see this, very specific dates in which Jupiter was going to bring these flare-ups, these times of a sense of hope for some people, but for other people, perhaps an overconfidence. And so in particular, I want you to notice some of the dates here, right? We predicted there would be a surge somewhere in this zone from March 14th to March 21st, but also April 4 was a date when Jupiter conjuncted Pluto to where Pluto had moved to at that point in the sky. So there's this whole zone from March 14th to April 4th when we expected to find a peak. Now, check this out. I've got here on the right side of the screen a COVID cases graph. This is showing new cases. It is showing all time. It is for the United States specifically, all regions of the United States. And as we watch this, we can see that there is increase, 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 and a peak right on April 4th. How about that?
Yeah.
And then the line kind of flattens at that level for quite some time. And then if we go back to the diagram on the left side of the page, we can see that June 29th was a date when Jupiter connected with Pluto, where Pluto was in the sky, which was at that point 24 degrees of Capricorn. And then Jupiter continued retrograde and hit the pandemic hot degree itself, July 8th to 16th. So let's see what's happening on the COVID cases graph from June 29th to July, what is that, 18th or 16th? I can't even see it. I believe it is the 16th. Yes. So looking over on the COVID cases graph, once again, we begin to see an increase, 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 and we get to June 29th right here, and things are surging. And then July 16th is right here. Again, the local peak, right? And then, you know, it drops off a little bit. It sort of flattens a little bit and gets better by September. And what do we have over on the diagram on the left? Another set of dates. And these are dates that are all crunched together. The earlier dates are more spread out. The Jupiter span hitting the pandemic hot degree is in March, and its transit to Pluto is in early April. And in the retrograde pass, we see the span lasts for about 18 days. And then this final one, though, is very concentrated. So it's very pointed, likely intense, but also brief. And remember that thought. So these dates are November 7th to 13th with the addition of Jupiter conjuncting Pluto on November 12th. As of this date, it is November 10th right now, and I have refreshed this diagram so it's as current as it can possibly be. We have a surge going on right now and a local peak on November 6th. We've reached 132,797 cases. And then today, oh, this is November 9th, 130,000. So, I mean, there you have it. Really can't get any more pointed than that kind of evidence.
It's amazing.
And, yeah, it really is. And I'm as amazed by it as anybody. I have to say, I never really thought of myself as somebody who was very good at this branch of astrology, which is called mundane astrology. But wow, this stuff is really playing out. And I think that we should all be extremely cautious through the rest of this week, through the 13th, certainly. And in support of the idea that this is the final peak, as the diagram on the left would suggest, I heard a news article yesterday, a podcast, or I forget which, actually it was a major news network, I forget which one, where Dr. Fauci appeared and said that he does expect Pfizer is very close to having a vaccine and a large amount of the vaccine, and he expects it may actually roll out as soon as the end of November.
Yay!
Yeah, and wouldn't that be great?
Hold on tight, guys. Just a little bit longer.
Hold on just a little bit longer. Now, another thing that I've been saying is that the pandemic hot degree is going to expire. And this is a very old traditional astrology rule that something is live, it's in action, it is in existence until one of the two planets leaves sign. And Saturn is going to leave Capricorn and move into Aquarius, not to return. It actually did visit Aquarius briefly this year, but that doesn't seem to have taken a lot of energy away from the pandemic hot degree. So I think that it is going to leave Capricorn and move into Aquarius, not to return, is going to really help the matter. Now, that has to be viewed and understood in a greater context, which is that this Saturn-Pluto cycle is like a 35 to 38-year cycle. And this is the initializing of it, right? And so these events are going to reverberate for like at least 35 more years. But I think that we're going to move out of the peak intense transformative phase of it as the pandemic hot degree expires. And that's going to happen. I think it's like the 16th or the 19th of December. Julia, do you want to share any thoughts right here?
I would say that one of the best resources before we did all of this work, and you were thinking, let's jump into mundane astrology, why not? Richard Tarnas's book on cosmos and psyche was I'm so impressed with how much what an excellent resource that was, especially at looking at this cycle and everything. And you introduced me to that book, and it's just so impressive. Yeah, cosmos and psyche, good stuff.
Fantastic historical and astrological research. Written for the layman, but in very scholarly language. It's a bit of a thick read. Yeah. So, perhaps we can expect that things will ease a lot in December. As we said, I certainly hope so. And for that, I would refer you to our other video, why and how 2021 will be so much better. And we're going to start reporting the news of 2021 really soon. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you were able to get some benefit from our research this year, and that it helped make your year go a little bit better. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.